Hello and welcome to the Tiny Hymn Knits podcast, my podcast all about knitting, sewing, crochet, cross stitch, and all manner of crafty goodness. My name is Laura and you can find me online as Tiny Hymn Knits on Instagram, Ravelry, Etsy, and YouTube. And I am coming to you from High Level, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my menagerie of animals and my boyfriend. And yeah, it's been about 6 months since my last podcast because 2019 is trying to kick my ass and it's doing an incredibly good job of it. It's been, not to start this off on a downward spiral here, but it's been the worst year of my life for sure. No contest. If you hear puttering around, the rabbit's in here. He's exploring and trying to chew on all of my boxes. Aren't you, Ben? So he's gonna be making some noise. The cat is also in here as well because she likes to hang out where the rabbit is, so she's here hanging out. She might come over, that'd be nice. But yeah, so there's a little pitter patter of Oscar the Holland Lop running around my office. So yeah, it's been 6 months. So I've been meaning to film another podcast for a very long time, and I've actually sat down to do it twice before, and it's just not happened. Either there's interruptions, or I realize that I'm not in the headspace for it. So I was sitting and watching the Fiber Tales podcast and knitting, and I just thought to myself, okay, if I don't do it now, it's going to be like after Christmas when another episode comes out. So this is going to be very just basic. I've got a bunch of my finished objects that I finished since the last time I talked to you guys. I will put all the relevant information on the screen if I can't remember the designer's name or where the yarn comes from or whatever. There's also a lot of sweaters and other objects that I've made that have been given away already. They were either special requests or gifts or what have you, so I don't have those. I might do a little bit of a picture montage at the end of the projects that I finished that I no longer have in my possession. So yeah, there's quite a few. I want to say that I finished at least 6 sweaters, but I'm not 100% sure on that number. I'll have to look it up again. I am currently knitting on a new sweater, which is rather important that I finish, so please don't mind if I look down occasionally when I'm doing increases. And don't eat that. Oh, seriously, the fact that rabbits can eat leather and plastic and all this other stuff and they're fine, or at least mine is. He shouldn't be doing that, but he does it anyway. But he's eaten cat food before and it's bunged him up something horrible. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, so I guess we'll crack right on. I think I had knit-alongs running. I honestly can't remember. I will have to check. I obviously have not been keeping track of any sort of thing that I had been doing. So I'll just start in again. What I'm wearing is a finished object of mine. It is a no frill sweater. I have knit one of these for myself before. I had knit it previously at the full length sleeves, or at least bracelet length sleeves, and a full length, but the one I'm wearing at the moment is my own hand-dyed yarn in my, what I used to carry a non-superwash base. And I believe it is in the butterscotch pudding colorway, and then I held it together with a Surrey alpaca that I actually bought it in Nashville in February when I went there with my boyfriend this year. And I didn't buy, well, I bought it on clearance at the yarn store in Nashville, and it wasn't enough to do the full length sweater, so I have short sleeves, which actually works really well for me. I wear this almost every day. I work from home. Obviously, I have my yarn dyeing business, so I work from home, so I don't need to dress to impress anyone. So I have literally been wearing this sweater almost every day. I have had to depill it twice, and I had to depill it like quite a bit. I haven't done the inside, so the inside's like really nice and pilly. So it's something I wear a lot. I'm gonna make myself another one. I am making myself another one. Because I wear it so often and it's my go-to when I'm at home, as well as my other no frills, because my house sits at a balmy 14 degrees Celsius a lot of times of the day, so I like to wear a sweater in the house. And yeah, I did the basic pattern. I think I did the smallest pattern. I can't remember. I know the designer is going to be working on doing larger sizes because it wasn't incredibly inclusive beforehand, so that's something to look forward to, and I hope she actually does, because I really do like her designs and the simplicity of them. But yeah, that was one of the things I finished quite a while ago. And I suppose I shall get on to some other things. So another object that I finished is another weekender sweater. And I knit this one out of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the dill heather and the, I want to say dove heather. It's my favorite gray. It's a very, very nice basic gray. But anyway, I held those two together and I made another weekender sweater. I don't know how much of this you'll be able to see. I think I'm sitting a little bit closer to the camera than I normally am. Fun. What are you doing? Scratchings here. But yeah, I actually knit this as a Christmas present for my sister. I ran out of yarn, so I had to do shorter sleeves, but then I also tried it on myself, and the length is really nice, the body is really nice, but I think I fudged up the sleeve a little bit, at least one of the sleeves. I don't think I picked up enough stitches. So I was doing another Knit Picks order, so I ordered another ball of dill heather because I had more of the dove heather in the tweed. So I ordered another dill, so I might, if I have enough time, which it's really looking tight now. By the way, I think it's the 19th of November. Christmas is upon us, and I'm not freaking out at all. Whatever. So if I have a chance, I'll try and fix that before I send it out to her. She moved to Ontario earlier this year. So if not, I have a backup project, or a backup present for her, so she won't go without a Christmas present. But yeah, I hope I can get that done. And yeah, so I might send it to her anyway. Maybe it'll fit. I don't know. I think this sleeve I didn't pick up enough stitches. It looks way too narrow. And it's just a stockinette sleeve. It's a worsted weight when you're holding the two together, so it shouldn't take long. It would just mean that I need to pick a pick an anime to watch so that I'm concentrating on reading subtitles instead of my knitting, which is the trick that I usually do when I'm knitting stockinette around, is I'll pick either a foreign film or an anime, and then I'll have the subtitles, and it distracts me from being bored by my knitting. So yeah, that's a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and that's the second one I've made. I really like mine. So hopefully I can get this to her and she'll really like hers. I don't know. Half of the reason I'm doing this is so I can get my finished objects out of a basket in my craft room and just put them away, because then it'll free up some space. Okay, so the next thing I made, actually this is not in any particular order. It's not in the order I made them in. I don't remember the order I made them in. But I made myself a puffy chunky sweater. And this is a pattern by the dyer from Gregoria Fibers, I believe. So this, she's got a bunch of different patterns. Again, very simple. I feel like I need to sneeze, so if I just, no? Okay. Maybe. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to make this for a really long time. I actually started it, not this with this yarn, but I tried to cast it on last Christmas, and the yarn I chose was totally wrong. So this year Kitty. Oh, okay. And the reason I cast this on is because the town, sort of the next town over from where I live, got their very own local yarn store. It's called the Bee's Knees Knittery, and I absolutely adore it, and I've only been able to go once because my timing is terrible. But I went there once and I bought a sweater's quantity of this yarn, and I believe it is, she's digging in my basket of zippers. I don't know what she's trying to do. Kitty? Shrimp, what are you doing? Yeah, okay. I want to say this is Barocco Vintage Chunky, but don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. But I bought the sweater quantity from Wendy, the owner who owns the store. She's absolutely wonderful. She's just a lovely lady. Anyway, so I finished this quite a while ago, and it also needs a deep pill because I've worn it so often. It's so soft and thick and luxurious, and I normally don't like knitting chunky things, and this did hurt my hands a little bit, but I love it so much, and I kind of want to make another one. So if I manage to get there when the store is actually open again, I'll probably get another sweater quantity, probably in a cream color, because I think that would be really nice, especially for winter. But yeah, so that is the puffy chunky sweater. And I'll try to link everything down below if you're interested, or I'll just link to my Ravelry page. I make a Ravelry page for everything I make because that's just who I am fundamentally. Helps me keep myself organized. All right, so another thing that I made. You better not be going to the bathroom in there. Kitty? Hey. What are you doing? Hey, get out. Out. Okay, so the next thing I made is the As If tee, and I'm sure all of you have seen this on various other people's Instagrams or YouTube, whatever's. But yes, it's the As If tee, and I absolutely adore it. I'll put the information on the screen and down below for you to find it. And I want to say the main yarn that I used was the Barocco. I think it was an ultra alpaca. No, not ultra alpaca. It's one of their like undyed yarns. So it's more like environmentally friendly or some such. I should have kept better notes. I can't remember if I put it on my my Ravelry page or not. But yeah, so it knits up so fast, and you use mohair or Suri alpaca if you're sensitive to mohair for the illusion neckline. And I actually picked colors that are so similar that you almost can't even see it. But I really like this. I haven't really left my house in the last couple months anywhere that I have reason to wear this, but it's really nice, and it's surprisingly easy to knit with mohair by itself. It's also got a Kitchener stitch on the shoulders, which I thought would be more difficult, but it really wasn't, and I really enjoyed it. I actually found it very therapeutic, and it was quite easy for me. Let's just say that right up front. For me, it was really easy to pick up the stitches for the sleeves and the neckband, but yeah, I really, really want to knit another one, and I think the next time I knit one is, guys, cut it out. Kitty wants to wrestle and Bun's not in for it. Kitty, leave him alone. Anyway, I want to do the intarsia method where you only hold the mohair in between, so you drop it and then use only the main skein again. So that is another thing I finished. My other things that have gone off, I made a ripple bralette, and I'm sure you've all seen that pattern as well. I made it kind of to my size, what I thought would be the good size, but in making it I realized that I've always known this, I have a really wide rib cage, not much of a bust, so I need to, the next time I make it, I'm going to cast on for a bigger size in a smaller needle, or a bigger size for the rib. I'm going to do the same needle sizes in the pattern, but in the bigger size, but then not go up as many needle sizes for the main body for my own bust size. But that one was given to my friend Taryn because she's dainty and it fits her great, it looks nice, and so she has that now. I've made various pairs of socks. I've got a bunch of half socks around my house as samples for some of the colorways that I've put in my shop recently, but I'll show those when they're actually finished pairs of socks, because otherwise you'll just be seeing the same half pairs of socks for however long. I also knit another Siri pullover, which is the Siri cardigan pattern that I made earlier this year as well, and I worked with a lady this year who wanted one in a forest heather colorway from Knit Picks in the Swiss worsted, and I made that for her, and I gave it to her and it was still damp, so I finished it like just in time because she was leaving to go back to Ontario, I believe. So I'll put in a picture of that. It was really fun. The Siri pattern does hurt my hands in the top because of all of the decreases and such, but it turned out really, really well. It fit her really, really well. And I also made another no frills pullover for another coworker in a very it's a new colorway. It hasn't been to the shop. It's called the Fawn colorway. It's very pale tan. And then I held that with a Knit Picks mohair as well, I think in the oak colorway. So that was really nice to work on as well. And what else have I made? I made some pairs of socks. And the next three things are all the same because this is who I am, apparently. So I made myself a pair of the Grove mitten pattern by Jared Flood last year and promptly lost it this February. So I decided that I needed a pair that were exactly the same, so I knit myself another pair of the Grove mittens. This is again a pattern by Jared Flood of Brooklyn Tweed, and this is my favorite mitten pattern. It's got this beautiful twisted stitches and just increases and decreases. It's very, I know some people have a little bit of a problem with the pattern, but I know this is going to sound really stupid and like condescending, but as long as you follow each stitch, like I know the first time I made it, I had to follow each stitch very closely as to what I was doing. Because you do increases, basic increases with yarn overs, but you don't, you knit or purl into the back loop to close it. So there's no like real lacy part of the pattern. I don't know if that's part that kind of screws people up, but so I think that might confuse people. I'm not sure. I've made it so often that I don't even need to look at the pattern anymore. So, but yeah, so maybe one day I'll have a Grove knit along and then do some like one-on-one help through your pattern things. But yeah, so I made myself this pair, and this is in Barocco Ultra Alpaca because I knit all of my Grove mittens in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. And I thought to myself, if I decide that I need to just, you know, leave another pair at a restaurant somewhere, that I should make myself a second pair. So I made this pair as well. And again, these are also in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. And these are my spare pair, or if someone comes over and they want to go for a walk and they need a pair of mittens, then they could use these ones. I also want to make myself a couple pairs of mittens that are a little bit more minus 30 degree friendly. So I want to do some line mittens. These are very much like spring or fall, or if you're keeping your hands in your pockets the whole time kind of mittens. They're not going to keep your hands super, super toasty if it's minus 30. So I made those, and then my boyfriend very kindly asked for his own pair. And so these are gonna look a little bit funny on my hands because they're a bit too big. So I made him a pair of Grove mittens. I know, right? Shocking. I had to do an extra repeat for my own. I think I use a smaller needle, and I always have to do an extra repeat, which is super easy. It's just you do another of the 6. Once you do it a couple times, you know where to add an extra repeat. But yeah, so these I had to do 10 repeats of the pattern, and then I also cast on with more stitches for the ribbing, the twisted ribbing part, and then decreased back just because he has really wide hands. He's got incredibly wide hands, so I wanted him to be able to like get his hands in the mittens in the first place. So yeah, I made 3 pairs of Grove mittens, and yeah, maybe I'll make another. I don't know. I was thinking of making one as a giveaway. Do the Grove knit along and maybe have a pair of Grove mittens as a giveaway. But yeah, I really like these colors. I kind of wouldn't mind a sweater in these colors. This pair was knit in a different yarn though. I think I have a tag. I think Blue Sky Fibers? That's not the right tag. Yes, Blue Sky Fibers, worsted weight. And I think it's Wild Thyme? Or not. I'm working with some other worsted, wool-stock worsted as well, so I'm not entirely sure. Might be Wild Thyme, who knows? Yes. So I've got a bunch of things on the needles right now because, as I previously mentioned, Christmas is coming and I always feel the need to make people Christmas presents. I'm not entirely sure why. Some people I really like making Christmas presents for. What is he doing? Okay. So, my first project, I guess I'll talk about, because it's what I'm working on at the moment, is a no frills sweater. Another one, my fourth one. It's unnecessary, I don't know. Since I don't have a tag for this one, I'm using Sugar Bush Bold, which is a worsted weight, and No Frills usually uses a fingering weight. So I am just knitting it on a 5mm instead of a 4, and I'm doing the smallest size because I want it to be quite an oversized sweater, so this should kind of work in my own thing. So I'm using Sugar Bush Bold, and this is the, what is it? Look how organized I am, amazing. Dover's Sand. Dover's Sand. And then my mohair that I'm using is a Sadness Garn Silk Mohair. This I bought when I was living in Calgary still. So I'm just holding those together. I don't have a project bag big enough available right now, so it's just kind of I've got balls of those yarns everywhere. But hopefully I can get this done as soon as possible. I think I cast this on last night. So I finished the short row shaping, and now I'm just doing the increases, and I absolutely love this color. I originally bought this yarn, the main yarn, the Sugar Bush Bold, for an Ondawa pullover, which I have ordered more of it because I'm still going to make that because I did a gauge swatch and it's so luxuriously squishy with the twisted stitches and the ribbing. It's just, I'm really excited to make that. So, yeah, this color, I love it, and it looks, I saw these two side by side and I'm just like, yep, those need to go together. So I'm making another no frills. Another thing I have in this bag is the start of a baby blanket that I could not care less about, but I told my friend that I would make one. So I'm doing a, I think it's a garter rib blanket, baby blanket. You can find it on Ravelry, and I'm just, it's literally just started. I will work on this some more later, and I'm just using Knit Picks. That's the wrong tag. Apparently I'm hoarding tags in here. It's Knit Picks City Tweed Aran in the, I don't know what colorway this is, but don't do that. Anyway, it's just living in here. I've literally done 4 rows. I don't have time for it, and here I am anyway. Another sweater I'm working on at the moment is for my boyfriend. I don't have any needle heads on this, or needle tips, heads. I've got one, because I use them for a different project that I'm too embarrassed to show on here because it's so ugly. So I've almost got the back panel of this sweater done, and I'm knitting it in Wool of the Andes, I think superwash. It's absolutely covered in dog hair, and it is the Cambridge jacket cardigan pattern by Ann Budd. I showed him a couple patterns for what he might want. He prefers cardigans over pullovers. I prefer pullovers instead of cardigans. But this one, I showed him the pattern picture for that, and he said that he would like just 6 of them in different colors. So I haven't really worked on this much lately because I'm trying to do Christmas presents and shop stuff. So, but yeah, I just got the back panel done. It's just got basic ribbing on the side. It's technically supposed to have ribbing that starts like here and is this back panel, but we decided we didn't want that. So we'll just have it go up on the sides and under the arm, and then it'll be the same on the front. And then it has an actual zipper application instead of buttons, which works really well for us. But yeah, I'm just using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Forest Heather and just knitting away. Nothing special. Could you stop eating that? Go on. I've got a paper trimmer down there that has a plastic handle, and he keeps chewing on it. It's not going to be good for him. No, that's not cool. Okay. So that's my super intense rundown of that sweater. I've also got a pair of socks on the needles. So my lovely dear friend Rowan, he has such big feet. He has the biggest feet I've ever tried to make anyone anything for, which is just ridiculous. But he has this, and please let me know if you know of anyone who does this as well. At the end of the day, when he comes home from work or whatever he's been doing, he doesn't like to take off his socks completely. He leaves them like halfway on so that the ribbing of the sock, the top ribbing, is around the middle of his foot. So he's got these little like foot, you know, in the Grinch where his socks like kind of run away. It kind of looks like he's walking around like that. So he got married this year, and him and his wife are both incredibly lovely people. So I made him a pair. I always joke that I was gonna make him a pair of half-mast socks, so ones that only went up half his foot, and he really loved them. And this past like 2 weeks, I put up a colorway in the shop called Rowan, named after him because it reminded me of him so much. First, it reminded me of Lord of the Rings, which in turn reminded me of Rowan, so it had to be called Rowan. So I decided he needed to get a pair of Rowan socks for Rowan. But it's a Christmas present, and I hope he doesn't watch this. So it's a Christmas present, so I added a red toe. So it looks like they're those like fist mitten things for babies, but for like the world's biggest baby. It's huge for one. I can fit both my hands in very comfortably. But yeah, it's just a top down, a cast on with 80 stitches. My socks are 56, his are 80. He's got big feet. And I just knit until half of the ball was done, and then I added a toe in my festive red colorway. So I finished the one, and now I'm just working on the second one. I've just dropping here. Just cast on the cuff, and yeah, I'm gonna try to finish that this week sometime, so that way I have another Christmas present done. He's a wonderful fellow. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, if not the nicest person I've ever met in my life. And I love him. He's great. A couple of other pairs of socks I've got on the needles are just sample socks of my own new colorways. This one is Scrappy Socks in the Woods sample sock, and then I've got unfortunately none of these colorways. Rowan is available in my shop right now, but none of these other ones are, but they will be next month, early next month sometime. This one was quite a popular colorway. This one's called Lady Grey, and you can see my yarn's all tangled. This is Lady Grey, and I really like this colorway as well. But yeah, so I think I have other projects as well. Again, I finished something last night that's so hideously ugly and embarrassing that I'm not going to show you because it's stupid. It was a request from somebody else, and I think it's absolutely stupid. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed that someone is going to have this in their household, and my name is going to be associated with it. Ugh. So that's my finished objects and my works in progress for knitting. And I haven't done any crochet because I haven't really had time. Mainly I was just been working on my blanket, my ColourPop granny square blanket. But I have finished a couple of cross-stitch projects. The first one is absolutely delightful, and I love it, and I need to do a little bit more with the whole framing situation of it because it is also a Christmas present, and I don't think Rita watches this podcast, and I hope she doesn't, and if she does, please don't look. Just skip the rest of this. This is for my mother-in-law, Rita. She has a strawberry-themed kitchen, and she loves everything to do with strawberries. So when I saw this, I had to make it for her, and I got really excited. I started twice because I completely bungled up the first time, and I accidentally cut the A to fabric. So anyway, so this is the Christmas present that I made for Rita, and it's already in its frame. And I love it. It's very pretty, and I love it. I love it. I've been really into cross stitch right now. It's very relaxing for me. It's the only thing that really forces me to sit still. So I did this on an 18 count oatmeal bun. Stop that. 18 count oatmeal colored Aida cloth, just the stuff that you can get at Michael's for super cheap, and I love it. I just picked all of the same colors that came in the pattern and then went away with it, and I really loved it. And because I seem to think that everybody needs a cross stitch for a Christmas present, I also, this one only took me 3 days, which is surprising. I don't have it in a frame yet, but it is washed, and my boyfriend got his dirty fingers all over it, so it's kind of dirty on the edges, but luckily it's not dirty in the middle where it counts. My brother-in-law, got rid of those on there. My brother-in-law is Bud. He is super into Legend of Zelda, and I've always had like a soft spot in my heart for any video games because I like to watch people play video games. I don't particularly like to play them myself, but I like to watch. And this is one of the ones that I've watched some people play sometimes. Pardon me. I saw this on Pinterest, I think, and then I decided that I had to make it, and I made it again in 3 days, so that was super fast. So this is the pattern. I pretty much spent 2 whole entire days doing nothing but. And it's just on a white 18 count, which it's quite stiff actually, so I don't think I'll have to do much manipulating for when it comes to putting it into a frame. I just need to find a frame for it. But I really like it, and I hope he does too. He just bought a house recently, so I was really looking forward to giving him something he can hang up on his wall. And yeah. I have another cross stitch pattern that I'm working on right now as well, but that is something that is a secret Christmas present, and I can't show it right now. I'm working on quite a few things that are secret Christmas presents that I can't show right now. Again, I just figured if I didn't do this now, I was never gonna do it. Bun has got a tin of food on the floor, and he knows his food is in there, so he keeps trying to like chew it and like tear it apart. But it's a Christmas tin, so he can't get in there. So there's a lot of ambient noise. I'm not even gonna edit it out. Who cares? Whatever. So yeah, when it comes to my shop, I have reopened. I've got some solids and speckle colorways as well, but I've decided that I'm going to be doing I'm going to be leaning more towards just self-striping from now on, just because I find that it's a little bit more consistent. And also, since I started doing more and more self-striping, I find that doing the solids and like semi-solids and speckles and stuff, I really enjoy it, but it kind of eats into my work-life balance time frame that I can do with self-striping, because self-striping takes so long. So I want to be able to start a sort of rhythm of kind of Mondays to Saturdays, hopefully, with the whole like shop update thing. I had a shop update this past weekend, and that went really well. It was all my Christmas colorways. I have a few skeins of that in the shop still left, and I'll be doing a update next Saturday, I think the 30th of November, and that will be just Dunderknit Rainbow. So if you missed out on the Dunderknit Rainbow colorway the last couple times that I've put it up in the shop, it will be available next week, Saturday, the 30th of November, and that is the only colorway I'll be adding, I think, because I don't think I'll have time for anything else. But that's your time to get it. Also, I just wanted to say here, I've kind of made a notice on my Etsy page about this. Where I live means that if you're used to getting an order right away, if you order something from Canada, that's not going to happen from where I live, because where I live it's an 8-hour drive north of the next like distribution center. So like it's going to take a while. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere. So it does have a tendency to be delayed, and that's also why I'm saying pretty much as soon as December starts, I cannot guarantee your parcel gets to you before Christmas, because things take a long time. And we get a lot of like parcel mail up here as well, just because people have to order everything in, because you can't really buy anything here. Hi, Kitty. Just giving my knitwear a good sniff. What you doing? You want to say hi? So yeah, Shrimp is back with me as well as Oscar. And that kind of gently leads me into the life stuff thing. So in my last episode, I talked a bit, I think I was talking about that there was a wildfire that started, there was a wildfire that started near the town that I live in, and it got out of control very quickly, and I worked seasonally for the wildfire center. It's literally right over there. I live right behind it. So we were intensely busy, and B, it was a couple weeks of a lot of thinking our houses were going to burn down. I'm still amazed the town didn't burn down. It got so close to burning down, and like we had all of us here had all of our stuff packed for had all of our stuff packed in our vehicles for at least 2 weeks. Like mine was probably about a month. That's why I delayed a lot of. Why are you so grumpy? Go play. So yeah, we had all of our stuff packed, and we were just accepting the fact that our houses were going to burn down. So it was a lot of stress, and I work as data entry, so we were working 12-hour days for a long time, and we were working a lot of overtime on days off and stuff like that, and we didn't really have time to do anything else. But eventually that started to go down, and the main danger left. This bun is just, would you stop? Here's a solution. Just move the paper trimmer. Okay. Yeah, so the fire danger finally died down. It actually kind of went down really quickly, and all of a sudden it was like it didn't even happen because it started raining finally, and enough that everything went down. And so like all of a sudden at work there was like, we were still busy, but like a lot of other people didn't have anything else to do. But right in the middle of that, on the 5th of July, my it's always confusing as what to call it. Technically still my husband, we had been separated for a little over a year, passed away. So that was, and still is, something that is incredibly hard for me to deal with. He had been suffering with depression for a very long time, and he couldn't deal with it anymore. So that's been something that has been so hard, and I don't know how to deal with it. It was the first loss that I experienced in my life, and we were still, like, I know a lot of you got to see a bit of the drama of that situation last year, but we were still very good friends. We talked all the time. He would text me about things. He talked to me about things that he probably shouldn't have. But just knowing that he was comfortable enough to talk to me about these certain things was really great. And yeah, I found out on the 5th of July, found it right away. So it's a very weird position to be in, because you're kind of on the outside looking in, even though you were the closest thing to that person for a long time. But yeah, it's not going great. I don't know how long it's going to take before I start feeling happy again. Probably a long time. And it is definitely affecting the relationships I have now, because I don't know how to deal with it, and I don't know if anyone really knows how to deal with it because it's such a big thing. But yeah, so if you are someone who suffers from depression or anxiety or anything like that, just please reach out to people, because it's a lot worse if you're just not there anymore. Because just knowing that I can't just pick up the phone and talk to him anymore about anything. I could talk to him about anything. We had pretty much the exact same interests in all aspects of our life. But yeah, so that's why I have the bun and the cat in my house now. Finally got the cat fixed so she's not yelling at everything constantly. Isn't that right, kitty? Yeah. She's harassing Bun. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm talking to something. She's kind of feeling left out. So, but yeah, so yeah, I don't want to come. I don't know. It's a weird feeling because I feel kind of guilty for every exclamation point I use in a post because I'm trying to be better, but it does feel like a bit of a lie. But could you stop walking on that? Yeah, just sit down on the cross stitch, dude. Thanks. Appreciates it. But yeah, it's just a matter of like getting through each day, and like some days can be good and some days are terrible and most days are terrible, and you try to not be desperately miserable all the time. I don't know where I'm going with this. Right? Do you want to sit? No? No, okay. She's an idiot. Anyway, yeah, I've got a lot of future knitting plans and future like things I want to make for Christmas, and I've got a lot of shop stuff that I need to do, and I probably missed talking about like a million things, and but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I can get back into the swing of things and things will get a little bit more streamlined. I haven't talked this much in a consistent time frame, so my throat is really dry. Not used to talking anymore. But yeah, I don't know what else really to really talk about. So I have a lot of acquisitions because I was doing a little bit of retail therapy last month. I haven't got it all, but I'll talk about it when I start actually using it. I did an advent calendar exchange with Woolberry Fiber Co. and Sweet Sparrow Yarns. So I got my Woolberry advent yesterday. So I'm really excited about being able to open advents. I'm actually weirdly considering doing Vlogmas. It might not be like a daily thing, but I'll try, because I don't know, it might keep me entertained during the days. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. If you have any questions, just leave them below. I think I might leave it there because I'm just sort of rambling now and I really need to go and I don't know, do something else. I don't know. Something. Let the cat out. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching. Bye.